Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Alright everyone, welcome to War Room episode 30. I am super excited to be here. For those of you that don't know, I have been up for, according to my stream, 17 hours and 15 minutes so far today streaming. I'm doing a 24-hour marathon stream in honor of this year, our 30th episode of War Room. It's not 25, it's not 50, it's not one of the huge milestones, but it's fun for me, so I'm celebrating. Here with me tonight to do our 30th show, we have my almost ever-present co-host, Serothrax.
Hello everyone, my name is Serothrax from Steel Jaguar Gaming, and I'm surrounded by nice, kind, and thoughtful people.
How are you? Oh.
And joining us again, we have Nico.
Greetings, everybody.
And thank you again for being on. And return guest as well, Addy. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, I'm Mario from House of Lords, and I'm surrounded by three nice people. One not so nice person.
And then...
Fuck off, Addy.
I didn't say it was you.
There we go. Looks like we found our not so nice person.
Self-conscious.
And
Well, I could be
then
the second not nice person.
a first timer on the show. I'm proud to welcome Odwalla. Welcome, man.
Hello, how's it going?
Pretty good. You want to just give yourself a quick introduction to everybody that's watching?
Sure, I'm Odwalla. I play for SGR.
Great. Glad to have you on. Alright, so
Thanks.
tonight, aside from me being slightly tired, so I might be a little bit scatterbrained, you'll hear a lot of long rants, we're here to talk mostly about the jump jet change, as well as the LRM change, and then just mention a few of the features that have gone in this past patch, as well as talk a little bit about what was in the devlog. So we're going to jump right into that, and I want to start with LRM changes, because I think that's something that's important, but it won't take as long as jump jets. So, clan LRMs now have a scaling damage from, I think it's like 2 meters or something like that, up to the previous 180 minimum, that allows them to do damage, and most importantly, as I realized today, screen shake under that 180 meters. So, how do you guys feel with the minimum range? I mean, I was waiting for it personally. Are you guys excited about it? Are you guys having fun with it, or?
I don't play LRM builds ever. I don't really like. It's boring for me, so I don't really notice. I haven't really noticed it much in game either. I mean, the screen shake can be annoying, but since the way the actual screen shake is calculated and since it does less damage, it's just it's noticeable, but it's not horrible like I thought it would be.
What about the rest
One
of you
thing I
guys?
think about the screen shake is that I think their impulse values should be dropped a little, just because it is unlike IS LRMs, it's a constant stream of rock, and if they're chain fired, it can be pretty annoying. On top of the graphical explosions on your screen that are making it hard to see, the shake is, I wouldn't say a great thing.
Yeah,
As far as- Go ahead.
I haven't used them because I don't have clans. Just playing against them, I've noticed people have been firing them within that range, and it's mostly just annoying. Like, you can tell it's not doing much damage, but yeah, I mean, if you have one of those on you, it can potentially stun lock you if, like, you can't find a target or whatever.
Yeah, that was I had talked to a couple people earlier today, and basically what they were saying was damage was like noticeable, like you did some damage but not a lot unless you were really close to that 180 meters, but the fact that it was a stream of LRMs, and so if you're running like an LRM-15 or an LRM-20, it allows them to, it allows LRMs to be useful in a brawl, even if you're within that minimum range and you're not doing much damage, because you're disabling, in a way, a target. So, I thought that was pretty interesting. So have you guys really noticed it when you're like playing against people? Obviously, it sounds like not a lot of you have been playing with LRMs or with clans, so.
Well,
it's still.
me,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, in my most honest opinion, that I'm one of those guys who likes to run with at least a small LRM on any mech that I possibly can run with it. I just like to have consistent DPS when I'm out of range, because I also do tend to run with slow engines.
That's how I've been playing with one.
More DECA.
My favorite Mad Cat is, what is it? It's four ER smalls, a UAC 10, and 2 LRM 15s. And I played that with the minimum range, and it was a ton of fun because you do get close to people, and they just have such a hard time shooting you, especially if you're one-on-one. If you get in a bigger situation, it's you still have trouble dealing with more mechs, but if you're fighting just one person, like, shots were whizzing around me, and maybe like 1 in 3 was connecting, but it makes it a lot harder to aim. So that's what I've noticed personally.
I think it does remove one of the counters to learn boats being just a light getting on top of it. Not removes it really, just makes it slightly more difficult. Like before, if you got under 180, you could chew it up, and now he's going to be locking, knocking, and doing some damage. And while it may not seem like a lot against assaults and heavies, with lights, every little bit of armor is going to count. So it does, like many other changes in this game, have a knock-on effect on light mechs. I'm not biased.
Yeah, and I've only noticed it a couple times. Like, I don't run into it often enough to where I feel like it's a problem. So.
And I mean, it kind of goes back to the whole, like, LRMs as a system need their mechanic reworked.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah.
I'm just
Do we
interested
have
in.
enough time on this show for me to get into this?
I just meant
in short.
broad
in
stroke.
short, broad strokes is that due to the targeting system and how it works, with any mech being able to relay targeting and info, indirect fire is too damn easy right now. I would like to see LRMs shifted to more of a mid to long range direct fire role instead of this sit behind cover, put cursor over box, press trigger, profit sort of thing. Because when you get into a coordinated role against a coordinated team with the current LRM system, there exist enough counters to make them ineffective. If you get into a direct fire fight with any other mech, like actually in the open, you're probably losing that exchange just because they have to be toned down for that indirect fire. And if you have somebody on your team who's ECMing, narking, doing all that, actually narc right now is just a whole other thing with the improved narc module. It lasts for a ridiculously long time, and if you get narked on some maps, you're just dead. There's nothing you can do. There's no cover. You're dead. But I'd like it to be built around that, say, 600 to 900 meter range direct fire, and remove the indirect capability only with, say, a narc or a UAV.
That's
And even then, its indirect fire capability would be worse than it is now. To compensate, though, you buff its direct fire capacity be much better than current. But in that entire thing, I have a whole proposal here. I really should write it up with all the explanations and turn it into a whole discussion.
That's a good call, because
it is reworking the targeting system itself.
Next week we can talk about that for sure. But what I was going to say is we were actually talking about it a little bit today during the stream, and what we all agreed that we missed was in MechWarrior 4 flicking LRMs. So you got the lock, and right before you shoot, you flick your crosshair up, shoot off the volley, and then look back down to hold lock, so that the LRMs would get a better trajectory. And how that just doesn't exist in MWO because of like the preset arc. So that was something that we thought was like fun, and we had talked a little bit about. But
well,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
gonna take
without removing the role of missiles as an indirect fire weapon, what would you recommend as a changes towards keeping it as an indirect fire weapon, but making it more acceptable in its use?
just reducing impulse really. They're not overpowered or anything, but I mean the reason they're complaining about so much on the forums is that they're annoying. They're incredibly annoying weaponry just because of how much they screen shake you. And clans have just made that worse with the streaming.
Pop-Tarts,
It's also-
people understand when they die in a Pop-Tart. They're like, I can see that sucks, I'm getting shot. There are times with Lerms where, like, because of a base turret lock or a narc that you don't see, you just die because you're constantly getting Lermed, and you're like, this is fucking bullshit! Happened to me a couple times today, and I've been playing this game for years. So, it does happen, and Addy's right. It is just like an irritant sometimes.
And again, I've gone into this before, but I'll restate it. But part of the problem with Lerms right now is it's so binary in its effectiveness. It's either murdering you or it's doing nothing. And there's a whole checklist you go down. Do they have a mass AMS shield? If yes, your Lerms do nothing. Do they have ECM? If yes, they're doing nothing, unless you have excellent spotting and a narker, unless he gets shot in the face by snipers, in which case your Lerms do nothing. And then, well, it's a map that just plain doesn't work, and there's maybe a third of the maps, well, you're dead. Your Lerms do nothing. So by making it more of a direct fire role, and I feel like it would be more adaptable to different maps. Because although it's specialized in 600 to 900 meters, it still would be quite good down to 200 to 500 meters. And part of this is that right now, with how indirect fire works, it emphasizes bringing a lot of them to take full advantage of the opportunities to shoot, and because you don't care about your mobility. So if by changing into direct fire role, I think those big, fat, slow, like Stalkers and Battlemasters and Awesomes that are the go-to Lerm boats, just because they're mounting like Lerm 60s, Lerm 80s, are going to be outperformed by, say, a medium or a heavy that's fast and can position and keep range. And a lock.
Yeah, and I can tell that you're rushing because you want to get onto jump jets, but
Yeah. Sorry we had to go off on that tangent.
No,
I just
it-
wanted to get your opinions on that.
it's good. I can just tell when Siri's impatient because I've done enough shows with him.
Well, it's more of like I don't want to burn our entire time doing this.
No, but
because I do need to type up like the full explanation for this. Like even just this brief overview of it that I linked in chat is like a significant piece.
okay, well then, since we've sort of highlighted the main problem that we feel about Lerms. This patch, we got a, in my opinion, long-awaited jump jet nerf to impulse for jump jets, and another way to balance them was an increase in heat based on number of jump jets. Siri, I'm assuming you have the numbers kind of off the top of your head. Would you like to do a quick overview of how it went down? No, not biased, not an opinion, just like how it worked out.
Okay, I will link to chat the maths I did.
Perfect.
I think they're pretty accurate.
Nico's sitting here like those are
this is
completely
basically-
wrong. Just kidding.
These came from, I posted a request on the day of the patch asking for somebody to look at the XML files. PGI John, one of the web developers, actually came and linked the relevant XML, and JMan grabbed the relevant numbers and the comparison to what it was previously. So I ran the numbers for before and after. You can find them in that post. And the basic conclusion, going down the list, is that the Highlander got absolutely screwed. It was bad in the old one, like bad to the point where nobody used it in comp because its jump jetting was so poor in comparison to the others. And when we were calling for balances to jump jets, we were saying make everything else like the Highlander. Well, they made everything else like the Highlander, and then they nerfed the Highlander even further. So previously you needed 3-4 jump jets on the Highlander, 2 tons apiece, in order to be competitive, to even be decent. Now you need 2 more jump jets than you did previously. So to match that kind of meh performance, you're either going to need 5 or 6 at 2 tons each. Thing being, the max on most of the Highlanders are 4. The only one that is higher is 5 on the heavy metal, and its hard points are kind of crap.
Dude,
So
just
heavy metal
to
is just fucked.
just to say something about that, I tried it with 3 today, and I was like, Felt like I was just gliding the whole time. It was pretty funny. But yeah, no. So keep going on like the general change. Not biased,
So,
just
yeah.
facts, Shuri.
Highlander is Lowlander. Victor, in order to match its old performance, needs 2 more, and these are at 1 ton each. So if you used to use 1 jump jet on a Victor, you now need 3. The thing about it is that the Victor can easily mount 3, even 4, and so it gets the old 1 or 2 jump jet performance. And in the old format, 1 or 2 was perfectly fine. So the Victor isn't hurt that much by these changes. Heavies, on the other hand, need about 3 more jump jets. And on the heavy that we know and love, the Cataphract, you're maxed out at 4. The best you're getting out of a Cataphract now is equal to the old 1 jump jet performance, which was usable. It's still usable, and it's decent, but it's not like flying by any means. The only one that I think gets more is the quick draw. I think one of the quick draws goes to 6, and so that's still quite an investment for kind of mediocre performance. One of the mechs that did get absolutely screwed is the Jester. It has a max of 2, and so it is like worse than the old 1 jump jet heavy at best. What other jumping heavies do we have? Any? Anyone? All right,
No.
moving on. Mediums.
Oh, Thunderbolt 5 S, I think it was. That was JJ's. One of them
yeah.
was. Not the 5S.
Turns like
Yeah.
I totally forgot about it and didn't test it.
The Thunderbolt, I think max is 4, right? Jump jets.
I'm looking all over Smurfy now. I don't know which one it is.
Let me
Yeah,
log
you can
back in
look that up
now.
while I move on. Mediums. Mediums need between, depending on, it's not quite linear, but you need about 3.5 to 4 more jump jets than you did previously. And the problem again coming in here is that a lot of the mediums cap out at somewhere between 3 and 5 jump jets. For example, the Shadowhawk, the only one that has a higher jump jet count is the 5M, which has a cap of 5. And that's going to be equal to your old 1 or 2 jump jet medium. And I personally don't like... You want me to keep this
I do.
just the news. Okay, I'm going to move on. I'll give you my opinion on that later.
There you go. Well done.
So, at best, the highest jump jet count you're going to get, I believe, is a Griffin with 7, and that's going to be equal to your old 3 jump jet medium, at the cost of about 2 extra tons.
4 jump jets on the Thunderbolt. SE.
Lights are the
Yeah,
interesting
I see.
one. Lights, what they did is they have the initial thrust, but they actually doubled the thrust you get per time. Now, for everything else, they have the initial thrust, and they brought the thrust per time down as well. But what this means is that for lights, if you have 4 jump jets, you're jumping just as high as you were before. Maybe not quite as high on the initial thrust, but at the end, if you hold it, you're getting to the same height. If you have 5 or more, you are actually jumping higher than you were. And the more you have in comparison to 4, the bigger a gain you get. Vice versa, if you have fewer than 4, you are now not going as high, and the greater the difference from 4, the greater you are affected. So like a 1 jump jet right now is only giving you, I think, 6 meters, which is good enough to do like hill climbs and skating, what I call skating up the hill, because of a weird interaction with the slope movement code. Even if you have 1 jump jet or like 3 or 4, if you hit a slope jumping, you go up almost at the same speed. But if
If
you're
the
trying to
speed you're
do...
moving is additive.
Come again?
The speed you're moving is additive when you skate. Whatever speed you're moving at is, and you hit your JJs while you're skating, you'll keep that
Right.
speed.
Right. So the difference with it is if you aren't bringing a lot of jump jets on a light, like only 1 or 2, you're going to have a hell of a time getting up sheer faces. But if you hit slopes, you're fine. So depending on map, you could be okay.
All right. So those were the changes with Siri's completely non-biased opinion.
Those were just the facts.
Okay,
No
so
spin zone.
Highlander sucks. It is a fact.
That is a fact, yeah, that no one can decide that now.
Highlander is terrific. No. So obviously, wait, Ojala, you're not exclusively a light pilot, are you?
No, I mainly pilot like Victors and
Okay,
mediums.
that's what I thought. I was gonna be like, did Siri get me an all fucking light mech cast except for me? I was like, seriously right now?
I totally should have.
I'd have been,
Maybe.
I'd have been really, I'd have been like, oh no, I have to talk about all of the heavy and assault shit. Okay, so what I was just gonna say is, how has this how has this affected your playstyle so far? Like, how have you guys adapted? Have you been changing your playstyle? Have you been changing your builds? Have you been experimenting with some of both? Like, what mechs have you had the most trouble? What mechs have you had the least trouble, etc.
We'll start from the bottom. Lights up.
Mm-hmm.
Because
That works.
all right, so light metagame changed into this. We're just looking at builds in chat. This was the optimal Jenner build. That was the oh damn it, 30 seconds ago. Stupid Twitch.
What now?
And that was the optimal Ember build. I just posted up a chat and it was duplicating.
Gotcha.
But the thing, as you noticed, the Ember was already running 5 JJs. The Jenner was only running 1. This is due to crit slots. You can't, on an Ember, you can't, you need to put in another DHS because you have lower arm activators and keep the JJs and use all your crit slots or your tonnage. So you're relegated to 5 JJs. Jenner, on the other hand, only has 1 unless you drop a DHS or a medium laser, which messes with the DPS curve. So those are basically your only 2 light options. Now though, the Ember was buffed because it goes, 5 JJs. It goes about 13 meters higher than it used to. Whereas the Jenner with 1 JJ now is, you're not climbing anything with 1 JJ in a light mech anymore. So that Jenner build is done. That Jenner build is probably going to go 5 medium lasers, which makes it more of a DPS mech, which the Ember already is. So essentially what this has done is made the Ember kind of more valuable than Jenner F, at least in my opinion. I mean, Siri probably disagrees, right? But
I would agree with you in most scenarios, except I do think there are some maps that you can use just the 1 JJ to skate around.
Yeah, some of them. I'm mainly thinking things like Terra Therma, where you won't be. You need your JJs to climb in that map up quite a bit. You also need that in Canyon, and really that's about it. Alpine kind of, but the rest of the maps you could pretty much skate on all the time.
I'd actually say Canyon, with how the walls are sloped, if you hit it at the right angle, I found it's actually very easy to skate up the walls.
I like climbing on bridges. I don't know. I guess that's just me. But yeah, you can skate on those walls too. So whereas the Ember and the Jenner were pretty well balanced before, you couldn't really easily say that one was better than the other at all, due to the Jenner's poking ability and the Ember's brawling. Since the Jenner is basically being relegated to a 5 medium laser DPS version now over the 30-point high alpha version it was before, it's kind of intruding on the Ember's role, which the Ember just does better.
Solution just seems to be the banned hero max, don't you say?
No, because the Ember fulfills a unique role in the game, something that no other light does, which is kind of bad, yeah, but I'd rather not see it banned. It's not like it's overpowered or something. I would just like...
It's just the best. It's not like it's overpowered.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not over. I mean, whatever. No lights are overpowered. I don't think they can't be with the current environment. But the way to fix this is just to kind of fix the JJs on the lights. Just reduce instead of having the initial thrust, I don't know, maybe quarter it. It does need to be reduced a little bit because 1 JJ on a light mech was a bit too effective. But right now it's just limiting in what you can do with the Jenner now versus what you could do before.
Alright.
I'll also respond to the chat. The FSN9H, those 2 machine guns that you're missing, that's quite a bit of DPS loss once crate is open. So DPS loss of 4 instead of 2.
Okay, so any other mechs we want to cover with lights? You guys want to talk about the light spider?
The Hugin. Hugin only has 2 JJs. Sucks though.
Hugin. Oh, whatever will we do without it? Guys, what mech will we use to replace it?
You can use one of my locusts.
There we go, perfect. Nico's got it. No jump jets is pro jump jets. Okay, so then medium mechs. I'll be honest, the only mech that I've piloted in a medium has been my Shadowhawk, and you really notice it in the Shadowhawk, because before you could run just like one. Like I just ran, I went through all my builds today and checked actually, because I haven't changed any of them yet, and all of them have a singular jump jet, and you need at least 2 or 3 more to have it be as effective as it was. I wish I could say that I've done the perfect math that Eddie did, and like the great build comparisons, but I can't. I haven't heard people in Griffins complaining as much, because I think that they mostly have been running those SRM builds, which you can cut like a ton of ammo off of and still be pretty effective. If you're going,
I've been running the Griffins. I've been running the Griffins quite a bit, and I did have to change my builds from like using 2 to 3 jump jets to up to even 5.
Okay.
So I mean.
And did you
Yeah,
just
I mean, it
did you
has
just like
changed
cut ammo, or what did you do?
Just change up the load. I think I changed like a couple of the builds. I was using medium pulse, and I had to switch to just regular mediums, and yeah, I dropped some ammo.
Gotcha. Yeah, it seems like, from what I've been hearing from a lot of people, with the exception of the Highlander, mediums were hit the hardest by this.
It felt like it, yeah. Like the first time I jumped in them right after the patch, they felt really, really sluggish with 2 to 3 jump jets. Like, and it sucks because some of the Shadowhawks, I think 3 of them, the cap is 3, so you're kind of stuck with the 2K and the 5M because you can at least get 5 in there.
Yeah, the 2K is actually the 2K is the laser one, correct?
Yeah, it's the brawling one, SRM one.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the most dramatic change I noticed was when I got in my Shadowhawk. When I got in, I mean, I'm not sure there's a ton to say about him. Do you guys have any major points about mediums? Okay.
Well, I think when I was looking at the math, it seemed like they wanted everybody to pay like about 2 extra tons, 2 or 3 extra tons. And the thing is that they did that across the board, and obviously mediums and lights they have less free tonnage to spare, so they got hit harder by this.
Yeah, I think the effect on mediums was unnecessary just because mediums already weren't very strong to begin with.
So I feel about lights too. This was mainly it should have been a heavy assault.
Yeah,
because that's
I
where
think
the problem with JJ's came from.
exactly. I think the curve should have been like keep the mediums where they were and then just kind of bring it up to where the Highlander was in that way. So like the heavies maybe got hit the hardest, but. And I don't know, I guess we're not talking about the Victor yet, but the Dragon Slayer, I was already running the 4 JJ Gauss build, and that build still feels fine. Like, I don't have a problem with that at all, with the 4 jump jets and the Victor.
Yeah, let's save that when we get through heavies.
Yeah, I was just gonna say heavies. I switched my build in my Cataphract back to single gauze dual PPCs. Slapped a couple more heatsinks on, or slapped a couple more jump jets on, and it's been fine, but I needed 2 more before I felt comfortable with it again. I don't play.
I'm stealing Addy's point here. But
Yep.
With the increased need for jump jets, I agree with him that it kills the like dual AC5 style of heavies and assaults, and forces you more towards the Gauss.
Eddie watches as his point
Hey.
slowly slips out of his fingers.
I know. God, I was going to cry now.
Man, it's what Siri does.
Feel free to expand.
You
on
think
that.
Yeah,
you
I
think
was
all
gonna-
of these great points are always his? They actually usually are. Most of them are his. Sometimes he's
I
still
should say the Reddit post. Siri, you want to explain why that is and how it's important? Perfect, your
I
opinion.
know. Be my guest.
Okay. Well, the AC5 PPC max, I mean, I'm not a heavy or assault pilot, but I think everyone knows these basics. Those were the DPS variants. Those are the mechs that were able to pop dart and were able to brawl. A Gauss PPC mech isn't really able to brawl in comparison to the SRM stuff we have nowadays, that since SRMs are fixed. You don't have enough DPS, you don't shoot fast enough. The AC5 PPC mechs, on the other hand, did shoot fast enough. So with those out of the picture, well, brawlers are better now. Nice thing.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it
I
does.
do think they should increase the cap of jump jets on some of the heavies, like the Jester.
That would be
Yeah,
a good.
Jester probably needs like 5 or something. I mean, it's just
That would be a good
Yeah,
fix. I
any
think,
less
for a
than
lot of things.
4, any less than 4 is pretty unusable.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I want to get through just talking about the different classes before we talk about like what we think we should be done, because I have an idea about that as well. But talked about, so assault mechs, obviously we mentioned the Highlander with 2-ton jump jets. It's kind of a pain in the ass because you have to commit so much tonnage, and then even when you do, it's like having 1 jump jet before. It's just not doable in my opinion. 3 was like Hoverlander. So then, but the Victor, of course, always the problem child with its different class jump jets. I honestly haven't played. I've been playing Clan Mechs too much today, and not my Victor, so I haven't changed my build yet. But the 2 games I did play in it, I noticed that it didn't have enough jump. You need more to effectively like jump snipe like you used to. It's still a great mech, and you can still use it effectively. Like you can still use it just fine. You can poke corners and whatnot, and it helps your mobility. But it's not the same as it was before. You need to commit more tonnage, and I was running the dual AC5 PPCs, so I think I would have to switch to Gauss PPCs.
Do you think it pays enough in tonnage?
What was that?
Do you think it pays enough in tonnage? Like, do you think it has to mount enough JJs now, or should it mount more?
Personally, I think that the Victor is such a problem because of its class jump jets. I think if you change them to the way the Highlander the Highlander jump jets are, and removed the total mobility decrease that the Highlander once just got, like that thrust is just nothing. And I agree that like Highlanders are big and heavy, and they should be slow to get off the ground, but not like unusably slow. So there needs to be a balance. But I think that putting mechs on a scale, like breaking lore in some way, and putting mechs on jump jet classes based on their like light, medium, heavy assault is more important than sticking to their original class of jump jets, because then they're all equal. Go ahead, Siri.
One thing to note is that heavies require 3 more than they used to, but the Victor only requires 2 more. So in reality, the Victor was hit much lighter by this nerf than heavies and even mediums, and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and you can tell definitely.
Going back to heavies, I know the problem child in the room. How's the Timberwolf?
Well, the good thing is the meta 2ER PPC Gauss build is not really a thing now.
Super hot, to be completely honest. I kept overheating with it, and I forgot about jump jet heat, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, why am I overheating? Like, what is happening? Because my mech wasn't as heat efficient, and so you do have to change something with it. You guys have been running...
If you go to ER PPC Gauss and say 2 or 3 medium lasers with 4 or 5 jump jets,
That's what I was going to say.
Still pretty scary, and it's still better than a summoner because its side torso hitboxes are better, and it can actually bring those couple backup lasers.
That's so fast. Stupid thing's too fast. Can't change that though.
That's the build Jaeger's been running, right? The medium lasers instead of the PPC.
Yeah.
Would you call that one overpowered though? Because I know we all thought the original Timberwolf was overpowered, but how about that one?
And for the brawling Timberwolf is not really affected because what it needed most was a fix to its freaking retarded bunny hop animation, and I don't think they fixed that.
They reduced boost ed.
It's definitely better because of the thrust. It's not as bad as it was. I think that... I don't think it's like fixed, but I don't think it's as bad as it was.
In a brawler, you're mostly using it to like just spam those quick bunny hops and get new attack angles. You're not really doing full burns on your jump jets. So the brawler Timberwolves are still pretty deadly.
Yep. Okay, so... So with all of these changes, and so I think we've identified that the problem here are mediums got hit too hard, Highlanders got hit too hard, Victors and Timberwolves didn't get hit hard enough. Is that kind of what we're agreeing on?
Timberwolf is kind of okay. Now that it's
Okay.
actually forced to bring like 4 or 5, that requires mounting either both side torsos or both side torsos and the CT, and so that allows you to do some more targeted quirk nerfs to it.
I still think the other one is usable, to be honest. It's hot, but it's usable. So I would put it in the needs more punishment. Okay, so we've heard a lot of ideas floating around from a lot of different people about like what they would do to like change the current implementation in terms of how to fix that. Obviously, I mentioned that I just think that Victor should have a higher class of jump jets. Like, what do you guys think is like the most logical way to scale these so that it works with every mech, past, present, and future, so that we don't have this problem again? Siri, start.
I do think that if you put mediums a bit back closer to where they were, and maybe a little bit for heavies, and then made it a bit harsher on the Victor, then I think it would be in a pretty good place, even for new mechs coming out. And maybe just not being as stringent, especially in the case of mediums, on their jump jet cap.
I think mediums need mobility. That's super huge for them because that's like the one thing they've got going for them.
Yeah. Like for the Victor, you could leave it at the current values, maybe, if you just change the jet tonnage to, say, 1.5 tons. Because it's still 1 ton all the way, like, the same as the heavies, and then suddenly you're jumping up to 2 on the Highlander.
That makes sense. The idea I had was make to sort of add to mobility, but move away so that you need to actually like commit more tonnage to jump sniping, which is, at least in my opinion, what like what the simple, not simple, what the straightforward fix to jump sniping was making you commit more tonnage to it, and so that's why I'm super happy about this patch, to be completely honest. But if you made your jump height and thrust based on your speed, so if you're moving really quickly, you get more thrust off of your initial jump. So that means that brawlers don't completely lose the aspect of having jump jets if they're full throttle in a brawl and they can maneuver quickly. But if you're trying to sit stagnant behind a position, jump jetting, you have a harder time because you're going to have to burn longer, recharge longer, and all of that. So that was one thing I thought about.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, because then if you're moving at full speed, even if you're a really good jump sniper, getting up to full speed and then jump jetting is going to put you, it's going to cover a lot of distance, so you're not going to be able to use a minuscule place to jump snipe anymore. You're not going to be able to jump snipe behind one building. And so that way it adds, if you want to get the full height, you have to be moving, you have to expose yourself longer for a better, easier jump. But if you want to just stay stagnant, you have to burn longer, and then you have to take longer in between each shot. So that was my idea. But again, I don't know how that would work, because then you'd have things like mechs and brawls with really high thrust values going a long ways, so. Oh shit, Eagle's in chat. But again, I mean, I don't know, and I think that we've had the patch since Tuesday, so we still need time to play around with it. And how many competitive games have we actually had so far?
We've had two pretty
Since
big
the patch,
ones.
like
We've
two?
had Lords versus SWK, and we've had SJR versus 228.
Yep.
And it was apparent that teams had done some serious science and changed up quite a few of their builds.
Yeah, in our SWK game, I mean, everyone saw passive both teams, right? And that's because the patch just dropped like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours earlier, 6 hours earlier maybe. And we were all like, are we gonna have to brawl? Are we gonna have to mix our decks? I mean, in the end, we just went with what we knew, but I really think both teams would be more effective if we mixed in brawlers now, because the trading capability was just not there anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, and think back to like the original Highlander jump jet nerf, however many months ago that was. I'd say it took 2 weeks for Highlanders to start to be cycled out of drop decks, for people to find new things that they thought were more effective than what they were comfortable with. So I don't think we're to the point yet where we can pass final judgment, but initial impressions do also mean a lot.
Well, I know just even yesterday we had a lot of our drop decks were different from what we have been bringing before. We actually brought, I think, the most varied match that we've done, both in terms of loadouts and style. I think there are some matches we were sniping, others brawling. The only thing we didn't do is Lerms or mass laser boats. But I hear some teams are doing mass laser boats to good effect. But yeah, I felt that we did a good job changing it up last night, and I actually want to ask you, did that keep you on your toes at all? Seeing like different sort of decks being thrown at you?
Okay, honestly, that last drop on River City, I was like, they're up on drops. This is a map they've played a lot. They're not going to go for anything ballsy. They're going to try and sit back and fight. So I scrapped my Brawl deck. I fucking threw it away. I was like, no, we're playing long range. There's no way they're going to charge. This is total bullshit. Like, they're up on drops. They're just going to sit back. They're not going to take any chances. Even if they tie, they win. That's what they're going to do. We got this. Fucking rushed up the side of the map with a Brawling deck. Yes, it kept me on my toes. I was really upset about that one. I was like, God damn it.
That's what we've been wanting to see out of just the meta, and
I think part of that is
you could chalk it up. Yeah, you could chalk it up as just people not knowing what to expect, but I think that it is actually a serious change. And also, 8v8s are just better.
8v8s
fucking
much
better
better.
than
Oh my
12.
Oh my god, 8v8s are awesome.
Yeah.
I had so
Scouting
much
is
fun.
weird again. Like, I was using those old scouting spots in Tourmaline that I had, and I was like, I haven't used these in ages. It's just,
I didn't have to
weirdest
like
thing.
scrap through players and be like, oh god, I need one more player who can play this mech. I was like, I have 8 people. It's really easy. I like
It actually
this.
kind of helps. It kind of helps that it's 8v8 because then you don't have to bring as much ammo, which leaves you room for more jump jets.
It's true. Builds can be like further optimized now for 8v8, so you might see differently optimized builds between 8v8s and 12v12s, which would be interesting.
Yeah.
One thing further to mention that is kind of an aside is that for private lobbies they fixed the spawns. Now if you're in Charlie Lance and your other lances aren't full, it won't pull you up, because what it was doing before was, say you only had like 6 people and you put 4 in Charlie, 2 in Bravo, it would be like, screw you, everybody's going in Alpha and Bravo. So you couldn't actually pick where you were spawning. But they fixed that now, so where you are on the drop screen is where you're ending up. And judging by Raffles' face, he didn't know this, so that was kind of a thing we did to him last night.
He did that to SWK too. Wonder if they...
Oh well, cat's out of the bag. And into Raffles' face.
Sorry, I was just talking to my roommate. I've been up for a while, so. No, I totally didn't fucking know that. Somebody was telling me, like, should we go for different lances? And I was like, I don't know where these ones spawn anyways, so I doubt it'll be accurate. Fuck it. We didn't even bother trying.
Yeah, Gummin did like an hour of research pre-match trying to figure out where he wanted us to spawn on each match, or each map. And actually during the last match, he didn't get the spawns arranged, so we were on the wrong side for what we were trying to do.
Here's another secret for all of you. Smurfy tells you that information. You don't need to actually test it. You just go on Smurfy and it tells you Team 1.
Except for the colors
That's
are
Alpha.
different. The colors are backwards. Blue team is red team and red team is blue team.
Oh, yeah. That was
So.
a weird thing. But
So yes, so if you go on Smurfy and you think blue team is red team and red team is blue team, then yes, the lances are correct. I did that too. I planned out like a bunch of stuff and I was like, I really hope this is the side I'm going to be dropping on. Shit, because I wasn't positive. Okay, so jump jets. I guess there's
overall,
not
I think
a ton. Yeah, like I think we all agree that it's a good change. Like it's done a lot of what we wanted to. It's made you commit more to jump sniping, and jump snipers aren't just the end all be all tool of multi-range that they used to be. Because as Addy mentioned, which is a huge point, you can't necessarily do the dual AC5, dual PPC mechs anymore, which is huge because that DPS allowed you to brawl almost as effectively as a lot of other mechs. So now that you dual PPC gauze, your PPCs are ineffective under 90 meters, and so then you're relying on just a gauze, which has a charge up mechanic, which makes it even harder to use in a brawl. So I'm really happy personally. I don't want anybody to come away from this thing and being like, ah, fuck the jump jet change. Like I'm super happy with it. I just think it needs some tweaks for a couple mechs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it needs some smoothing out. I do have to do a sort of fair disclaimer though. Pop-Tarts are still going to be one of the best things in PUBG, just due to the nature of
You
the
don't know.
disorganization.
That and you don't know
Brawl-
what map you're dropping on.
And because you don't know the map choice. Brawling is situational to certain maps, and it
Sudden.
requires a full team commitment. If you can get a full team commitment in PUGs, I fucking envy you. You must be a god. So,
Wait, please.
yes.
Please wait. One thing.
Wait,
And then
what?
Schopenhauer becomes the best pug cure ever, as his suave voice cajoles the pugs into action.
Oh,
I actually think 8v8 makes brawling more viable, just because you'd have less potential for those jump snipers if you're trying
That
to
That
brawl.
too.
yeah, people have to spread out, or people can't spread out as much, so you can't have like a front
Yeah.
line of 3 brawlers with, 4 jump snipers behind it, so that if you brawl, you get caught up on those 3 mechs and just tear you apart. There's just not enough variety for that.
Yeah, I would be in support of this game going back to 8v8.
Me too. I would love that.
Never
I
gonna
don't
happen.
think.
I think
Has
that
anyone met anyone who likes 12v12? Like, really?
I know a lot of people that were happy about it. So here's the thing: it should be map specific. So, Frozen City, Forest Colony, River City, Caustic
That doesn't work though. Doesn't
should
work,
be
though, because you
8v8,
have
and the rest
12
should
groups.
be 12v12.
You have groups of
No
12.
love
doesn't
for
work.
the lore-based idea of companies.
No. Screw
Wait,
lore.
what? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
know
care
what
about
this-
lore.
I really don't care
I
about
don't care
when it
at
comes
all
to
about
balance.
lore.
When it comes
I
to
mean,
balance
you-
of play experience. just
What's
screw lore.
the company idea? I don't actually know what you're talking about.
Well,
Companies
a
for
company is-
freelancers.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
I mean,
fans
you
are
wanna-
2 stars.
gotcha.
People complain about Deathball. You want to look at the number one cause, 12v12. More on
Yeah.
the field, Alpha reigns supreme. If you're in a DPS mech, well, you're going to be charging in there, short range brawling, and there's 12 just focusing you out.
I think this is the competitive problem, though. I think this is like the this is like the
Even
1%
Bugs, though.
argument. No,
Even
like I understand what you're saying, but I think that. So I've been trying to do this more ever since Jaeger like dropped that knowledge bomb on me. It was like, yeah, AC2s were balanced because they were a huge problem in lower elo brackets, and I was like, I need to start thinking about that more. And so, but I do think that a lot of the problems we have are due to who we're playing with. Like, we're not playing with bad people, and a lot of the times we're playing with people we know or against people we know, because the competitive community is so small, you recognize those names. And I think that that's one of the problems, is when you get 12 people of that skill level, you die so fast. Like, it's unbelievable, because if you get people focusing you down, that's how that's going to happen. But I think that for the majority of the players, so like, you saw... Who were the only people complaining about the new group sizes when that patch came out? It was us, because we're like, we are just like destroying people, and people are getting destroyed by us. Like, this isn't okay. And everybody else was like, we love this. Like, this is so much fun. Like, blah 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 blah. I love playing with my friends. Like, da 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 da. And so you need to remember that there is a disconnect between the majority and us. And while balancing for the competitive side is a great idea in a lot of cases, when it comes to satisfying a large group of players, such as having 12v12s versus having 8v8s, I don't think that that's like... I don't think that that's a mass people are going to be happy change. I think people would actually be upset. So,
See, even then, in solo queue, where there is basically no elo right now, I find like you bring a light, you bring a medium, and you scout around. You're like, okay, there's a lance here. I'm gonna go see if there's something else lower that I can engage. No, there's no lance here altogether. And okay, let's check over here. Oh, they've regrouped, and those 2 separate lances are now just 8 or 10 or 12. And it still just turns it into that sort of death wally stuff.
Without VoIP, you're never going to get Lance on Lance fighting, like just Lance fighting. It just doesn't really work. I mean, how are you going to... You can't talk to those people during fights, which is incredibly important if you're trying to do Lance stuff, just because you can't type. It's never going to happen until we get some voice communication system in the game.
well, not to mention that, but like, we had, like, when they changed the spawns to encourage lance combat, we had lance combat for like a few days before people were like, "This is stupid," because if one lance ditches their lance combat spawn and comes to help the other one, then suddenly you're down 4 mechs to like maybe 1, and the other team just wins.
Yeah, and it's the nature of this game being attrition based, is that it's deathballing pushes your firepower, focus firing, and makes the enemy hit that critical mass that the military term is combat loss grouping, where they are combat ineffective. So it is always advantageous in an attrition-based game to be grouping up, unless you change the mechanics significantly, and that would be like base level changes to this game. It's
I can't think of a situation where deathballing just isn't superior, aside from like Conquest, and if it's a big enough map, you know.
Why a lot of people like Conquest. Personally, that's why I like
Yeah.
Conquest. It's because you do get more spread out fights, and you do get more like skirmish engagements, followed by a big brawl, followed by, you know, like breaking off and mopping up sometimes. So that's just me.
We split during pushes. That's about it. We spend 2 lances in for pushes, just 2 groups. That's about the one time it's actually ever done in competitive play.
Yeah.
even then you're going after the same objective. You're just picking two different routes onto it.
Yeah. I need to not read chat. I'm way too tired. I get distracted. Man, I've stayed up 24 hours playing video games before. Used to go to LAN parties, whatnot. Wasn't too bad. This has actually been pretty difficult because like I'm talking to people all the time. I'm playing only MechWarrior, and don't get me wrong, I fucking love MechWarrior, but 24 hours of MechWarrior is like goddamn lot of MechWarrior, dude.
I don't know how you play this game. Honestly, I can't play for more than like 3 hours before it's just like game.
I thought Heim legitimately did it. I thought Heim legitimately did a 24-hour stream. And I was like, damn, man, like that's impressive as shit. Like, holy fuck.
There were like 3
like
breaks.
5 breaks. Or 3, or how? He had a
At
lot of
least.
breaks. He cheated the shit out of that thing.
Gummin took over for an hour. He went biking in the
Twinkie
morning.
took
and doing
over, too.
errands. Twinkie took over? Okay, so yeah, there were a lot of
Twinkie
breaks.
took over.
God damn it. It's alright, I'll be the first. Or not the
we
first,
need
but...
to discuss
There's been a
Matchmaker.
few.
Yeah, I would like to talk about Matchmaker and just like some of the fun new the fucking rejoin feature. Holy fuck! Do you have any
Yeah,
idea
that's
how
pretty-
excited I
pretty
was
cool,
for
yeah.
that the first time I disconnected? Like I never disconnect. Like it hardly ever happens anymore. And I disconnected. I was like, fuck yes, I disconnected. Reconnect. Let's do it right now. The other thing.
True
that-
story.
Go
True story
ahead.
from last night. We're doing our just couple drops. Was it last night or was it the night before? I forget. Anyways, Scotty's in there. We're dropping. He goes like, "Shit, guys, I got the what is it? The CryEngine error again. I'm out. Good luck." And we're like, "You fucking idiot! Reconnect." And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's a thing."
So here's the thing. Here's what I hate about just people in general. No offense, people in general, but people have been complaining about not being able to reconnect for matches for so fucking long. And I've always been like, it's a 15-minute game, like reconnecting isn't that big of a deal, like why do you care so much, blah 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 blah. This feature comes out and fucking nobody is like, this is the greatest shit ever. They're all like, okay.
Nobody was like that with the JJ changes too, and I'm just looking at the forums and like, you're complaining about the shit that's gone now due to this patch for like years. It's finally gone, and there's no mention of it. People are just like,
They're like, we can never be happy. We can only be upset permanently, always. Oh, these jump jet changes happened. How dare they not happen a month ago? And where is our community map maker? It's like, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
Like this is terrific. So fuck people in general. No offense, people in general. But like seriously, let yourself
I
be
kinda
happy for
appreciate
once.
that.
Dude, okay, so I did not
In
create
fairness
this.
to the people in general, some of them have multiple bones to pick with us, so we've got a long ways to go for some of these guys until they'll maybe crack a smile
I understand.
for us.
Like I understand that
remember-
some people are jaded and some people are hurt or whatnot, but it just like some people just don't allow themselves a fucking split second of
They don't
man,
wanna
I'm
be
really
happy."
glad this changes
Ruffle.
in. Yeah.
Awful. I honestly think not everybody knows about this change. You know how many people read patch notes? Like
That's
people coming
true,
on
I
and going
suppose.
like, "Guys, my jump jets suck now," and like, why?
But if
And,
you're
like I still have games where somebody disconnects and I'm like, okay, we're just gonna wait for them to reconnect, and no, they're just gone the entire goddamn time. So
I know, but like if
there
people
is a reconnect now. Like,
if people are
need to
complaining on the
focus-
forums, that means they should be educating themselves. And I know that I'm leading down a train of thought that requires people to actually be intelligent and smart and free thinking and all that shit. And again, people in general kind of suck ass. But like, god damn, man, I don't know. Maybe it's I've been up too long, but I just like. I was really happy when I saw Reconnect. The first time I disconnected, I was super jacked. I was like, reconnect to a game, happened to still be alive, perfect. AFK bait's even easier now. People are like, oh, I disconnected, you gotta get him before 2 minutes, and then you jump back
Oh,
in
God.
and shoot him in the face.
I kind of appreciated the little bit of satire that I got to announce it to everybody.
Wait, what?
Well, there was my disconnect and rejoin.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Alpha version, yo.
I totally forgot about that. Okay, other than that, tighter ELO for group matching was in the patch notes. So I think this is something else that's, again, a lot of competitive players are sort of like worried about stuff like this because we have been having. Like, I do legitimately feel bad when I roll a team 12-0. Like that isn't good practice
You
for
do?
me. Yeah, dude. Like that's not good practice for me. That's not good experience for them. Like they're having a bad time. And I'd rather have like 20 games that are 11 and 12 games and I lose the majority of the time versus, 20 games that are 12-0 rolls. It just like I get sick of it because it's not hard and I'm not like practicing or working on anything. So I know that this has been something that a lot of people have been complaining about. Have you guys noticed it being better since the patch in terms of like finding more competitive groups when you're playing?
God, no.
It's actually been worse.
It's been terrible.
I haven't
Our wait
noticed it
times
being
are, like,
worse, but I haven't noticed it being better either.
Our wait times have literally gone from like 5 minutes, which is kind of, acceptable enough, to like 7 to 10. We literally have waited 10 minutes once for a match, and
Are you
the
talking
match quality was,
full 12s?
Yeah, 10s, 12s, 9s, whatever. It's always been. It hasn't really varied much, unless we're doing like 6s or something.
I'm
But
kind of actually glad you bring this up because this is sort of the big trade-off in matchmaking is that you're either getting a more fair match or you're losing more time in searching. So I was actually wondering earlier and I wanted to bring it up and I'm glad, so please continue.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, like, our games, yeah, House of Lords, probably a 12-man. They last like 3-4 minutes, fine, whatever. But when you're waiting 10 minutes for a match and that crap still happens, then it's like, I don't really want to play 12s anymore. I just don't want to stop playing. It's just me waiting. It's not very, well, it wasn't even 12 or 12s, but it just pushes the the reward ratio for playing to very, very low.
But it's weird sometimes because I've noticed like there will be multiple, I guess, high elo teams queuing at the same time, and we rarely hit each other.
That's
I don't
actually
know if
something
you guys
that
noticed
I've noticed that as well, actually. Because
Yeah,
you guys were
yeah.
playing tonight, Addy, weren't you? When I was playing?
I
with my-
wasn't, but people were.
Yeah,
people
so
were fine.
I know you guys were playing with like at least 8 to 10, and we were playing with 10, and we ran into you guys once. And I don't know if that's just like there are a larger player base in the group queue or what, but like I was all ready to hit you guys again. I was like, all right, switching into my Timberwolf, like let's do this serious, like actual competition time. So I don't know. Personally, I'd be okay with longer wait times if it was much closer matches, and it's still, in my opinion, better than before when it was like maybe there's just nobody in the 12s queue and you don't make money playing MechWarrior tonight. You have to do scrims and you lose money on Artie if that's what you're practicing. So
One thing I'll say is I agree with you, Raffle, that like a lot of times I prefer just solo dropping versus like doing the 12-0s stomps. Like those get really boring quick for me.
Yeah, I'm
It's not that-
a lot more.
it's not that I don't enjoy winning, but like to a certain point. Like, I enjoy like even 5-12. Like 5-12 doesn't bother me. Like sure that can be a pretty one-sided game, but at least it's not like an absolute shit stomp. Absolute shit stomps aren't really that fun for anybody. And I do play a lot of this game because I'm trying to practice and I'm trying to get better. So the closer that my games are, the better, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, it is the kill score can be deceiving. I know you had a game earlier today, Raffle, that was, I think, 12-2, but they had like 7 mechs that were less than 5 damage from death.
Oh yeah.
Of course, they also had 2 that were just completely fresh. And
Well, but I mean, so Siri, like, think about that game we played, you guys. Think about how close that game was. And granted, that was like circumstances and how both of us played that match. But like, if you were being like, if the closer it's matched, the more games like that you're gonna have. So
yeah, if we're being serious on that one, we would have just fallen back to our base, and your direwolves wouldn't have made it across the map in time. But
yeah, well, and we wouldn't have sat in the back in fucking I-11 or whatever the hell.
Firing
Did you?
UAC-20s into the air.
I wondered if you saw that. I was shooting like an arc of UAC-20s, just like. But no, I do legitimately think that. And I guess I don't have numbers to back it up at all, but I would be willing to wait longer for closer games. Like to a fairly extreme point. Like I'd be willing to wait 10 to 15 minutes for a really close game.
Well, that's the big concern. Is I draw on one of the ideas I've seen community members bring up, and it was something along the lines of like make a normal or a casual, and then an elite or hardcore sort of queue. And the concern there is that one of those 2 queues is going to have wait times of maybe 20 minutes maximum.
I think
So, I mean, is that acceptable in trade-off for having your own area? And I mean, it's not always going to be that long. It's just, it depends on time of day, which region is really playing hardest.
Well, and the problem with that then becomes if people don't find a game in the hardcore queue in like their allotted amount of time of how long they want to wait, they're just going to switch over to the casual one. And
Also,
then get the same problem.
unless there's like some gate on it, how do we know it's not just gonna be like? Well, I guess isn't really much of a concern, but just random team number 5 wanting to try out the hardcore queue, and then we get a game against them, and it's like, oh, it's still a 2-minute game that we waited 20 minutes for.
Yeah.
So we probably would just go for the quicker matches, if anything, on.
Yeah, I think as far as the group queue goes, it's actually in a pretty good place. The concern is for the solo queue. Elo is... I can't
don't
really
think it
describe
exists.
it.
It doesn't feel like it exists.
Yeah, like we have people who are getting in and are like, yay, this is my first game, and we're just like, what are you doing here? And
Twinkie was playing... sorry to interrupt you, but you guys remember, what was the name, Chilled or something? Or that streamer that was playing yesterday, the big streamer? Cream, yeah, Cream. He dropped in a game against Twinkie yesterday. How does that happen? How does he get a game with Twinkie Overlord? It's the stupidest thing.
Brand new player.
Yeah, brand new player. He's on like his 7th match. There's Twinkie Overlord on the enemy team. Okay.
That happened to me, and I was feeling terrible about it. I was like, God, I'm like the worst player ever. Like, when did my elo get so shit? I got in a game that was somebody like, this is like one of my new first games. Like, how do I do this? And I was like, what happened? Like, am I really bad? Like, what? Like, shit. And then I heard everybody else is doing it. And I was like, okay, I'm fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it to me, it basically doesn't exist. All it is just people being thrown in. I want to see that tightened up. Going back to the thing about wait times, like wait times there are generally a minute or less. Even if it's like 2-3 minutes, as long as it's like just people who are remotely competent in my games, I'd be a lot happier.
I'm not sure if those people exist, because I'm hearing a lot about from like mid-level players saying, "Oh yeah, my games are my games are great now." People they're just having fun. They're getting in like close games. It seems like the elo is working for them. It's just not for us, and we're kind of the extreme cases. So I'm not sure if it ever work for us. Probably not.
Well, that's
games like League, and it's still the same issue. And
Let's
League
put it
against
this
some
way.
players.
It was to the point where I almost single-handedly reversed the 0-6. That shouldn't happen.
Have you ever watched like I can't remember the streamer's name. Like that'll happen though. Like that'll happen to any like extremely competitive player. Like you will get in situations where you are just head and shoulders above the rest better, and you can pull that back out. And I think that Addy's right. I think that is something that we can't necessarily like fix. There's always going to be the 1% or the 5%, however you want to represent it, that
Right, I'm
it's
not
just
saying
gonna-
fix it. I'm saying just improve it, because right now it's non-functional, practically.
Yeah. And Nico, I don't know if you can shed any light on this, but like, are we an outlier case? Like, are high elo players like an outlier case that are hard to deal with, and that's why they're getting like messed up games, or is it just and if you don't know, don't worry about it. But I was just wondering.
Well, I mean, you put it pretty well when you said you're in a 1% category kind of thing, you know?
But I mean, the thing is, I look around, and these are times where Jager's streaming, Oddwall is streaming, I'm streaming, and I know there are other good players in the solo queue, and we're all missing each other. Every last one of us is ending up in a different game.
I have had nights where I'll just randomly just sync with one good player and keep continuously hit them. Like a couple days ago, I was hitting Twinkie over and over again, like 5 games in a row.
I hit Aguilar like 4 or 5 times yesterday. Yeah.
You have to keep
So
in
it does
mind there's
happen.
all sorts of different gamers out there.
Yeah, that's.
But yeah, I mean, like, the point is, though, that as far as matchmaker functioning, it doesn't feel like it is for the solo queue.
I guess I haven't had the terrible experiences you guys have had. Like, granted, I've had roles, but I've always had roles, and
I think this is relevant again.
what was that?
For you guys? The bell curve, the ELO bell curve. I'm pretty sure this isn't any different nowadays than it was back then, because this is pretty old. When this is from? This is from April 2013, 19th April 2013. It's probably the same. Look where everyone's concentrated. Look where it goes, like 2000. Yeah, players don't really. I mean, there aren't that many, understandably.
Need to never read chat. God, like check TS and I have a bunch of messages. I'm like, what the hell is happening? Actually, I do want to read chat for a second because I think somebody brought up a good point that I wanted to make.
Well, the problem here is it feels like ELO is saying, okay, here you are, you're a good player, you're 26, 2700. Okay, in order to make this balanced against the other team, we're going to grab OC and 800 ELO.
Well, so
There.
So that's the thing, though, is like, you
combined
can't-
ELO is 36, and that averages to 18. And
So,
you,
like-
you can't really do that.
we're okay with waiting longer for matches, but a lot of people aren't. So if you want to wait longer, that's well and fine, but that means you're handicapping everybody else into that wait with you in a lot of cases to get those closer matches. Which,
Keep in mind the industry standard that we aim for is around, well, the industry standard tends to be about 5 minutes, and we aim for about 2.
okay.
In that case, I think if you're aiming for 2, this is happening too fast, because most of my solo drops aren't even getting close to taking that long.
Has there ever been talk of going into like a timed queue system? Like you hit play now or whatever, then you wait and then like it puts games together every 2 minutes or maybe every 5 minutes. I'm sure that's been brought up by someone, but
Oh, like the matches themselves are all synced? That'd be a huge
Yeah, yeah.
burden on the server, though.
well,
That would also be a burden on a huge number of more casual players who just want to be able to jump into a game when they hit play now.
That makes sense.
That's kind of the big concern there.
God, I have so many tabs open.
So, coming
Sorry.
back to some stuff that is in the pipeline, how do you guys feel that, how do you think casuals, pugs versus competitive is going to take when VoIP comes into the game?
I think that
it will definitely help. Focus
Yeah.
fire is so important.
well, and so
Oh,
here's the
God.
thing. Then that skill of one player on the enemy team, even if it's a 4-man versus a solo, like if I've got my goons together and I'm trolling the queue, me and some buddies, and I run into just Addy's like, well, shit. He can then talk to his friend, like talk to the pugs and be like, all right, these guys are serious business. Listen up. And so then the experience of one possible high elo player affects the gameplay of 11 people. Whereas now it doesn't really. So I think that VoP will be like we'll have
I
to
would
have
like
this
someone
entire
more solo.
conversation again when that comes out,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it'll be completely different.
Well, That
just
comes
get
around
much
to
better.
another feature, which is what do you guys think would be necessary to make company and Lance Command more useful?
Only
Company
issue
and
with
Lance-
command is that it's self-selective, so if you want command, you get it. And
some
Yeah, I've
some
had some
Jagon can
people-
take it.
I've had some questionable people take company command that issue questionable orders, and I'm like, I'm never listening to you because you don't know what you're doing. So if you ever give that that system unique features, it's just kind of
What I would say is
Well,
instead
You know
of
what would be
giving.
fun?
Oh, I was just gonna say my point is really quick. I was gonna say instead of giving an individual person company command, allow everybody to draw 5-second trails on the map if they want. So be like
That's a cool feature suggestion right there.
this is a good strategy. Move through here and here, get an engagement, and draw like that. Have it be totally blockable. Like if you don't want to view that shit, you don't have to because people will draw penises. It's fucking inevitable. But
Yeah,
just have
I
stuff
would-
like that. Okay, so Siri, I'll let you make your point. Go ahead.
You know what would be fun?
I always worry when you
Publicly
smile like
displayed
that.
Elo.
No.
I was just gonna say that.
My next concern is also what would you guys like to see out of the command wheel?
push, focus alpha, focus bravo, push.
Not even
Yeah, it's
focus
stuff like that.
X target. Like focus my target as a hotkey. So
Yeah,
have a
and then it
hotkey that's
highlights it or
like
something.
shoot at this fucking mech right now, and then
It'd be nice
one
to
thing-
be able to select the grid that you're looking at with your crosshairs. So like if I'm looking at a mech in the distance and I just have a quick way to point out which grid that is, that'd be really nice.
One thing World of Tanks has is that if you have your cursor over an enemy, you believe it's T, you hit T, and in chat it'll go focus firing, like firing at X.
Yeah, you could do that. You could do that with like the lock-on feature. So you're locked on to Bravo, and you just slap, Q or Shift 1 or whatever the hell your hotkey is, and it's like fire at this mech. Then of course everybody's going to be doing that, and but it will help with coordination. The only thing I would have to say to public elo is that public elo numbers are stupid because that will lead to too much dick swinging. And it'd be like, I am
Yeah,
1 point
yeah.
of elo higher than you. Just do brackets, like do StarCraft brackets if you're
Yeah,
gonna do
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Just
it's
be
not-
like,
yeah,
I'm in
it's-
platinum, suck it. Like that's
You're in
fine.
bronze.
I'd
Yeah,
love a
and
ranking
it's
system.
just there are people who are like, as I'm here speaking for high level competitive players, and we're just like, who the fuck are you?
Oh god, I love it. Well, I won't name names. But everyone knows what I'm talking about. Everyone knows we've had many arguments with him. Everyone knows who he is, and it's like, dude,
Not
you
even
don't know what you're
specifically
doing.
that, but
Oh,
not specifically that. Just people like I there was just one on Reddit today, and I'm not holding this against him, but he was like, all you competitive people were saying for Lerms to be buffed, and I was like, no, that's not what we were saying. And so it's just there is misinformation and noise when you don't know where people lie.
I think
Um,
especially if you do something like VoIP, it would be very nice to have a way to indicate if a player is more experienced or has a higher elo, just to avoid kind of the, I guess, Pug's understanding, that you kind of know what you're talking about, versus the people
Yeah.
who say, don't go center, flank right, left, or whatever the other Pugs say.
The
Yeah, it's going to turn into like a shouting match times if you just implement VoIP, and it's like, I want to go this way because it's brilliant strat, and you're like, dude, they have a firing line there. Let's go
the
this way.
commendation
No, shut up, you
system
know
would
nothing.
be great
and
too.
you're like, just, dude.
Yeah, there's like legitimate concerns that people go crazy and turn into massive assholes if you get some kind of elo tiering system. But I mean, playing MOBAs have that, and yeah, MOBAs don't always have the best community, but I'm not sure anyone follows Smite. But Smite just released a curse client, so you could talk in game with people. Like they actually have VoIP in Smite now, and public elo is public in Smite and everything. And in all the games I've had so far, people have been pretty nice. I think if your community is going to be an asshole about elo, they're going to be dicks about elo. But if they're not, if the community is already kind of nice, which MechWarrior has a pretty nice community, especially given the age of the average player. Well, I don't think there's going to be many problems with it.
The other thing I would
type of
recommend
guys
is
that would be dicks about elo are already dicks. So
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
most So I can't remember where I read this article, but most of the people that like swing their dicks hardest about Elo are the lowest tier. So you have like scrubs fighting over how less of a scrub they are than you, kind of thing. So it's not usually a problem for the majority of players. The one thing that I would say is that I know I don't play LoL, but I'm pretty sure they have the same system as Dota 2, the commendation system, where you can be like this. Like, so at the end of the match, you have like 3 buttons next to every player's name. You can be like, this player was helpful, this player was nice, this player was like a good player in general. And so the more of those you get, the more people are gonna be like, oh, this guy isn't a total bastard. And don't let people that drop in your lance vote on you. Like, that would be a key feature. Otherwise, it's just going to keep getting bumped and stuff like that. So, because then you can look at somebody and be like, oh, like, this person is really, really helpful. I should listen to their advice. Like thousands of other people have found this person really helpful. Stuff like that. So.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
In terms of improving the form of general
Out
matches.
of curiosity.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about the 4+ group sizes?
I think it's great for the game. I mean, I know Siri has some problems with it, but just due to the level of stoppage we're able to do now. But ignoring us, its units are going to grow due to that. It's easy to train new people now. It's just a lot more fun than it used to be. No more losing out to 5 or 6 people.
I'd actually like to follow up on that. This week, apparently, like just reading public opinion, it seems like the ELO modifiers on group size have really helped out for your small groups like 2, 3, 4 in avoiding just huge groups and huge skilled groups. And so props to Carl for implementing that idea. It seems to have worked.
Yay!
No, I think we talked about that a little bit this time and last time, but as much as we can have a problem with it, I think it does help a lot of people. Because I think of units that I played with before I got to be a competitive player, and I'm like, man, these guys would love this shit. Like they're all getting to drop together, they're having fun, like this is gonna be great for them. And I would feel terrible if I ran into them because I wouldn't want to like. I don't know. I don't like 12-0ing people. Addy might, but I don't.
Boost my EP and I feel better about myself whenever I do. It just makes me happy.
I mean, hey man, you know me. I get worried when I see scrubs in my game. I'm like, oh god, I'm getting bad. I gotta practice way harder. I'm sure my KDR is gonna be trash after 24 hours of playing.
It'll do the last 4. You'll just be like sloppy everywhere.
Oh man, so that's what I've been worried about this whole time is I think I've got a half an hour of like solid energy left, and then I've got 5 hours of just being pretty miserable.
That's not been behind me, even with his 8 million breaks. At the end of it, his play was so shit. It's the funniest thing to watch.
I can't hit Stormcrows for whatever reason. Like I'm fine with most other mechs, but I cannot hit
Plus, the
Stormcrows.
box confuse me. They confuse me. I don't know where the CT is on that stupid mech.
The hands hypnotizing.
Yes. I like
That's
it.
so Nico. That's really the most important feature we need is that we need the Stormcrow hands to go like this. That's all we
They
really
need to be able to open and close. And when you have a narc launcher on the start, can you kill the narc launcher on Stormcrow? They have missiles? Yes, you do. But, you know, it shoots out the hand, and the hand grabs the mech, and that's the narc. That's how it should be.
I personally just want to be able to pick up the leg of my destroyed enemy and start beating another mech with it, but I think we're a ways away from that one.
Do you? Okay,
Or if your
so
own leg gets shut off.
and I don't know if this is like top secret information, but has there been any word on collisions?
Shh.
Okay,
Patience.
I think
that's fine. I
It's
just I
scary
didn't
when
know
I
if
hear
it was
about
still even like a thing or not, and I was just wondering. I don't mean to like put you on the spot or anything at all.
Patience, my Rufflewaffle.
That's fine, man. I know a lot of people that are gonna fucking kill me if I like push for it and something happens. I'm like, fuck you, collisions are terrible. I'm like, I love collisions.
If you bring knockdowns back, Raffle, I will.
See, there we
bring
go.
Knockdowns back.
Addy will never come back on the show.
Nope.
I mean, the warping right now is already bad enough. Can you imagine if those were like full proper knockdowns?
Yeah.
I think it would be better because then the mechs wouldn't currently be colliding with each other, so that would maybe solve that problem. That being said, I did kill somebody with a glitch today. I killed one of my teammates. I felt really bad about it. We both jump jetted into the corner of a building. There's an ember and he got stuck in me, and
yeah.
I
Yeah,
killed
I've seen
him.
that before.
I felt really fucking terrible,
Yeah.
dude. Like the whole team was like, and it was right after I plugged. I was like, I'm doing a 24-hour marathon stream. Like, come check it out. 5 seconds later, Raffle Waffle kills player X, and they were like, oh, what the fuck, did team kill you? Like, streamer, TK? Like, I was like, I didn't do it. I'm so sorry. I felt really bad about it.
Speaking of warping, can we talk about the server crashes and the server lag and how everything just seems to be
So
iffy now?
I noticed that today too. That happened to me twice. I had like massive desyncs. Is that a known bug, Nico?
Sorry, I missed that one. Which one?
The player desyncs from server.
Like everything just stutters around, and it's not. Just the server just seems to crash.
Lasts
And
about a
Is it the
minute.
machine gun crash, or is it the...
No, so that's the thing. Everybody else in
general,
my game,
yeah, just
everybody else in my game that I was on TS with was like, no, the game's fine, dude. Like, what are you talking about? I was like, nothing is moving. I can't lock on. I can't zoom in. Like, nothing's happening. Like, I'm moving and I'm shooting, but I'm getting no hit reg, no server connection. And then I, powered down in a corner, waited a minute, came back, and it was just fine. But it happened twice today for me, and I just didn't know if that was a thing.
It was happening a
Nudge
lot
them
last
to
night on
run the
Jaeger's
repair.
stream.
yeah. Jaeger was getting that a lot.
Sorry, what'd you say, Nico?
Anybody you see encountering that, nudge them to run the repair tool. And
Oh.
if that doesn't fix it, then have them come running to us at support.
I'm
Boss.
not on the repair tool now.
I'm gonna run
Thanks.
my repair tool now. Yep.
Oh,
Literally
that
all of us
unlock change.
alt-tab from talking to each other and run the repair
Yes.
tool.
Literally just googled it right now.
It's in the patcher now.
Yeah, it's in the patch.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Yeah,
Yep,
bro.
yep.
Don't you read the patch notes, Addy?
No, not real. I do.
No, it's fine.
I just don't remember these things.
There's a lot. Okay. Really quick.
Well,
Dev-
if it's a knock-on bug of those DNS issues we had, then maybe the repair tool will be able to help it. If not, then it's definitely a new bug I want to see more info about.
Okay, great. I'll try and find the highlights in the stream and send them to you, and then I'll let you know if it
At
happens
least
anymore.
if it's more significant usual recently.
Yeah.
Alrighty, get that info to me.
Will do. Okay. Last two things are the dev vlog. We had the sort of the new mode was teased at a
One
little
last
bit.
thing on patch notes.
Oh, yep. Go ahead.
Arm lock change.
Oh yeah, the toggle.
Oh, I love it. I know all of you hate it, all of you assault players, but I love it.
Yeah, I just.
It would be
Okay, so
nice if we had both
let's sum it up
options.
really simple. Let's sum it up really simple. We just want both. We want a toggle and we want a shift hold key. That's all. Like there. And there doesn't need to be a discussion about that. We just want the ability to toggle it, or we want the ability to hold down a key for it. Like that's. There we go.
Yeah,
I'm
some
gonna go
prefer
one
one,
more
some
thing.
prefer the other. We should have both.
I'm just going to link the chat a thread where there's an arm lock toggle macro fix. And there's a couple different options in there. If you do want the old one back until PGI fixes it, there's your choice.
If
Moving on.
Okay. Saw teaser of the new map. I don't know. There isn't really much to talk about this. So I just wanted to mention it. A little bit of info on some more.
Just because somebody has brought it up, no, we don't consider the use of macros to be cheating, considering just about any gaming keyboard can be programmed to run a macro. It's just nothing any game can really effectively prevent, and it's something that any player nowadays can do. So, thankfully,
ahead,
there's
folks.
no macro that's OP, really.
I just have mine
I
sent
mean,
to
that one
Lord
is small,
Avi.
but-
GG Post.
That's your macro. It just says.
That's all my macro is. Yeah, Lord Avi, GG Post. That's all it is. No, I don't actually have that macro, but I should macro it.
You should.
So Nico, what are your thoughts on VPNs?
Oh god, not this. The series.
God, this
we
has
can skip
been
past
done
this.
with for so long. I don't
It's
even
fine,
want
it's
to
this.
Okay.
fucking talk about this. God damn it.
Devlog time. Devlog time.
Well, I mean, again, there's not that much to talk about it. Was there anything that you guys noticed in the devlog that you wanted to mention? I'm excited for the new map.
Maps.
Personally, that'll be
Definitely
sick.
Looks
map
nice.
design. I know this was a thing on the Russ Bullocks was saying about that it's going to be a while until they can fix this, until they have the dev time, like December, I think was quoted on the NGNG podcast. But one of the biggest issues with the game right now is just all of the fucking invisible walls on basically every single map. And also with the map design, and there was a huge discussion on Reddit that I think was actually rather excellent responses in there, which I'm of course going to link the chat. But the common thread that people were saying was just invisible walls, and one of the worst offenders is HPG Manifold. And if it wasn't for the invisible walls on that map, I think it would be hands down one of the best. That it's literally one of the only things holding it back, and some of these are just so egregious.
Is that all you wanted to say?
Well, Heimdall I was talking with, like, he has a lot of competitive friends, or people who played Counter-Strike with him back in the day competitively, and they all like the game quite a bit. You know, they really enjoy the gameplay and everything, but the one thing that kills it for them is those stupid invisible walls. Tourmaline especially is a map that I think that was particularly annoying for them. HPG Manifold I don't think was released at the time, but that would have been a problem too. It's one of the things that really just kind of hinders this game from like being really competitive, that you can't rely on the hit detection, or the geometry rather. You just can't rely on it.
I'm curious, does PGI aim at trying to make MechWarrior Online a legit esport, or?
Well, I mean, that's always a hope for any game.
Yeah.
That's something that you
forget
don't
how
really
that
like
happened, but-
make to happen though. Like think about games that have been like you don't make a game to be an esport. It just kind of happens.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like developers can focus more on like casual gamers, and then they can also focus more on making a game more balanced, or that sort of thing.
Well,
So,
I mean, I'll say it's not a hopeless cause, because we're consistently often in the top 50 games in Twitch TV, right?
Yeah, you are. And a big thing is that this game even has a competitive scene. Like, if a game deserves to have a competitive scene, it will have one. And the one we have right now is just growing lately. MRBC has 40 teams in it, which is massive, really. 40 teams is quite a bit for any game. So, it definitely has a lot of potential, and in some cases it's already kind of there, especially once Spectator gets, more fixed up.
Huge shout out, by the way, to the people who worked on Spectator and got the name tag bug fixed. Hella awesome. Thank you guys.
That's fixed? Ooh.
Yep, works now. Along with
When they die, the names disappear.
Yep, we have the ability to also put up to 6 people in the Spectator, although from what Carl said, it's not advised because that will further exacerbate the machine gun hit reg problem. So, but it means that we could do 2 casters and somebody to take care of the camera, so that we don't have to deal with like one person dealing with all that now. So it's fun, gives us a lot of opportunities and stuff like that. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to move forward.
Definitely not ready for public release though yet, eh?
No.
No.
And
Thanks for confirming that for me.
no,
Well,
I think that
until you have a way of limiting its usability,
private lobbies.
I'd say no.
Put extra slots in private lobbies. I don't know how hard that is because I don't know how it's designed, but that's what I would do. And I think Carl mentioned that, so.
You have anything else on the map topic?
I honestly don't. That was
little things that stub your foot and you can't move. That also sucks.
Statues in River City. Can you just remove them, please? Please. Those statues are evil. Worst thing ever.
Dude, that's like that's like the rite of passage. Like, you know how you have to be like you have to do something at some point to be accepted by your peers. Dying on the statues and then like feeling fucking furious, like that's like the rite of passage in the competitive community.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, that'll never happen to you again because it happened once, and you're like, fuck.
The best part is that I play light mechs all the time. They're so tiny I can barely even see them unless I actually look down. These stupid little statues are so small, and they do so much damage. I hate them.
I'm actually glad you mentioned that, because it's also one of those other sort of resource management dipoles there, where we have, on one hand we can go back and review the maps as much as possible and fix those collision bugs up. On the other hand, we also have, the new maps that people are screaming that want to get it pumped out.
Well, here's the thing that I after watching the devlog, I kind of got the feeling that now that you've built a lot of maps, you're reusing assets. And the thing about that is, if you're reusing assets, and these assets are broken in terms of invisible walls, then you're just releasing more problematic maps.
That's a fair point. It's keeping in mind as well that collision walls are their own. They're set to the object on the map, so.
Performance usually, but they can't be as detailed as we would like. Like being able to shoot through, like the dropship. What is it called? The Rebel from Tourmaline. It'd be nice, but I can understand that's a bit server intensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those little things that are, keeping us from just letting players run amok with sending in their own map designs, because with the tools available, they can easily make themselves all sorts of nice little, not so fair things on the map.
This might be completely off base, but sometimes I get the feeling that there's more concern about making it artistically pretty than functional.
There's different people involved in that for sure. One person is definitely looking after the artistic side of it, and on the other hand, we have the dev team dealing with the. So it's basically art and it's gameplay.
Right, and I'm saying right now, perhaps again, might be completely off base. It feels a bit too much away from the gameplay when all these issues exist.
Okay.
Just in terms of collision, or in terms of more other features, other aspects of the individual maps?
Probably.
I think most people have problems with is collisions.
Just.
All right.
I'd like to see a second. My biggest map thing is I'd like to see a second pass on conquest cap point locations on a couple maps.
Or the timers too.
But that's
the timers are just.
This is the thing is this is a lot of these things are very nitpicky. Like they need to be done eventually for balance, but we're not at that point. I feel like yet. I feel like we're at the point where I'd rather have like a few more things and slowly adjusting to that stability, so that like more people are happy, if that makes sense. But that's just me.
I'm glad you have that outlook, because that's pretty much what the aim is. We want to get as much work done in.
Yeah, there's
as
a lot
much
of
work done in community warfare as possible.
Like at the end of the day, like we want the game to be competitive because we're competitive people, but we are the smaller group, and I would rather have the game be more successful and have more people and eventually be competitive than be competitive and have just us playing it. So
that's again, I disagree with you, because as Addy brought up, there are players.
How do you? No. How do you disagree with that?
Just let me finish. There are people who join the game and then leave because these polish issues block their enjoyment of it. Where they make a shot, gets it blocked by an invisible wall, and they're like, "That's bullshit. Fuck this game. I'm out." So saying that it's just for the competitive scene fixing these issues, is fallacious.
Sorry, that was my mistake. I didn't necessarily mean about wall hits. I meant about like the other stuff that we're talking about, like like redos on like cap points and stuff like that, and like timers and stuff like that. Like a lot of the stuff we're talking about is very nitpicky.
I get you on that. I just don't want to detract from the importance of these little fucking collision boxes and these invisible walls everywhere. That is a universal issue.
Map consistency is important. I agree. No, I thought you were being like, the game doesn't need to have players as long as we're here, and I was like, what are you talking about? No.
Well, there's some people who think that.
Those
same people who say, I speak for the competitive community, I'm a high elo player, those are the same people that do the whole we're the only ones that matter thing.
And that's like the most annoying thing about it is like people interact with that, then they interact with us, and they're just like, you guys are assholes. And I'm like, dude, we never said these things.
It's like, I don't even know who this dude is, and he claims to talk for us. It's like, no.
Let's not get too bitter over that. Continue on.
I agree. I think that's it. Actually, I think we're kind of done for the night. Obviously the stream is going to be up
Question.
afterwards, but I want to close down.
What's this about new motis on your notes?
Wasn't there a tease about the attack and defend mode?
Was there?
It's on the plan. Oh wait, well, no, there's some interesting new stuff on the plan that'd be cool to bring up.
I didn't watch the whole dev vlog. I was really busy this week.
Wow, it's not like you had the last 18 hours.
I know, right?
Fuck off.
Well, here's a Reddit thread. I'm not sure if everyone saw. What that guy outlined was that they're destructible walls because it says static or dynamic structure such as walls or comm towers. If we could bring stuff like that down for attack and defend, that'd be incredible.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
It's an interesting challenge because destructible environment, huge CPU drain.
Yeah. And honestly,
environment
that's not a
cool.
huge thing for me because most of the games that I've played that have destructible environments, it's been very, very gimmicky. I think back to my days of playing like Battlefield. Like, I played Bad Company 2, and it's just like, oh, there's a giant dust explosion next to you, and somebody shoots you through it, and you're dead. Just like
Exactly. It's usually something you add to a storyline, right?
Right. Again, one of those things that's not hella top priority for me. Lots of games don't have destructible walls. I mean, look at CS. It's probably the most competitive shooter in the world right now. They don't have competitive destructible walls. Wall banging though, I do like the
competitive walls.
destructible walls.
Yeah.
Jesus. Wall banging on the other hand, like being able to pop an A. Well, no, fuck that. Never mind. I lied because that would give ACs another unfair advantage that they shouldn't have. Never mind. Wall banging is stupid and should not be in MechWarrior.
Like ricocheting?
What's
off
wall
of it?
banging?
What?
Wall bang. So in Counter Strike, some walls you can shoot through them. So you basically just spray down a wall and do reduced damage to a target on the other side. But you can do damage to a target on the other side, and that doesn't make sense with like LRMs or laser weapons. So I was like, give it to ballistics. That'd be fun in MechWarrior. And then I thought about it, and I was like, ballistics are hella fucking overpowered anyways. Don't do that. Never mind. I lied. It's a stupid concept, and it shouldn't be in MechWarrior.
Gotta put wood doors everywhere so you could shoot through them.
Perfect. There we go.
I
Giant.
think in 3050 wood isn't that effective of an armor anyways.
Exactly. That's why you don't see any like wooden mechs walking around.
Flamers
Okay.
would have a use.
There we go. Okay, really quick though. Do we have anything else? Obviously you guys are going to be here and we can keep talking afterwards, but I want to close the show portion of it out so that I can get it into the 2-hour window on YouTube. Anything else that we want to talk about? Nico, you had a few good questions for us. Do you have anything else?
I'm pretty good for now.
Boss. Alright, killer. In that case, I will be taking like a minute to go to the bathroom, and then the stream will be back up, and I will be playing MechWarrior. Any of you guys that are here are welcome to join me. Other than that, huge shout out to everybody that's been watching all day today. Huge shout out to all of the people that have played with me, especially Pisces. I don't know how you're alive. You've been up for like 36 hours. If you're still awake and still breathing, I'm incredibly impressed. Huge shout out to Nico and Kincaid for suggesting the idea, and Nico for giving it to me of premium giveaways, one which I will be giving away as the outro video rolls out. But guests, do your shout outs, starting with Adwala.
Shout out to SRM Brawling because it's awesome.
Fair, I agree. Alright, Addy.
Shout out to Wispy for falling asleep during one of our SWK games. He did not show up to match. I have to mention this every single time I'm on one room. So yeah, thanks Wispy. Great guy. I was bringing it up.
We were actually talking about that earlier, like what happened if I would just,
Oh,
if I
speaking
just
of
fell
which,
asleep.
he was asleep during our recent SWK game too. He couldn't play because he was too tired, so he did it again. And this was what, yesterday, 2 days ago. He did it again. In any case.
Awesome. Nico, thank you very much for being on. Give your shout outs.
I'd like to give a shout out to all of the people who are arranging community events and who have been reaching out to me so that I can help, give you a boost and maybe even see about trying to sponsor you if it's a big enough event. So keep in touch with me if you're doing any sort of thing, tournament, whatever you like in that sort of category. Let's make those private lobbies even more useful, or private matches even more useful.
I'm gonna make like
Oh,
a
yeah.
special video of that and just make like thousands of people watch it. Be like, listen, go, get help, make things better. All right, Siri.
My first shout out goes to Addy Learn to Play. My second shout
Why?
out goes. Hey, I'm just saying the message that I got from people. My second shout out goes to PGI John for giving us those XML files and showing that some PGI devs pay attention to Reddit. Good on ya. And my third shout out goes to Carl the Boss Berg, who is fucking awesome, who has done Spectator Tool, who regularly shows up and watches competitive games, and is not just that, but he has his own thread where everything goes. So he is fucking awesome. That's all I can say.
Yeah, man, huge heart to Carl. Every time I message that dude, I'm like, hey, can I have access to the spectator cam? It doesn't matter like what time of day it is. He's like, oh yeah, man, sure, here, there you go, you got it, enjoy. I'm like, thank you, that's awesome, baller. So that's awesome. Huge shout out to him. Again, shout out to everybody who's been watching. Keep watching. I have 5 hours and 7 minutes left, despite that clock. It's an hour off. I set it for the wrong time.
Cheater. You're cheating right now.
I'm
aren't
not
you?
cheating. I have been streaming for 18 hours, 55 minutes, and 22 seconds, which is... Shut up, Siri. Put your shirt down. Sit down. So, yeah, I'm going to run the outro video. We'll do a premium time giveaway, and then I will be playing more MechWarrior. So, thank you again. Huge shout out to just everybody that's taking part in this. This has actually been a really, really fun day so far. Follow me on Twitter and YouTube, and follow me on Twitch. Thank you very much, and we'll see you guys immediately after the stream.
Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.